yeah, so I swapped it out for that because the other one that had the red flowers, it kind of finished flowering, so it's been relegated to a less prominent position. But anyway, welcome back to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong. This is a podcast presented by two exes who are now good friends, and we talk about, well, everything really. I mean, you just have to look at some of our previous episodes if you haven't seen us before, or stay tuned to find out what shenanigans we talk about this week. My name is Josh, and I'm one of the hosts.
And I'm Sean. I'm one of the other hosts. The other host. I always say that. I always act like we've got like a rolling roster of.
Yeah, it's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
If you're expecting anyone else,
just the two of
apologies.
us and Lady Gaga.
Oh, show me again. I didn't see that. Oh,
it's like
very nice.
From her. What was the second jazz album she did? Like Love for Sale.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wasn't as on board with that.
Well, I went to. There was like a global live streaming event at Westfield shopping centers around the world.
Oh, yeah.
And they built at Westfield, White City. They built a big outdoor. I don't know, like a gazebo, but like a really big, like sort of sturdy thing with like closed-in walls, and they had it set up almost like a wedding. So there were all canapes and drinks, and they had like a big screen, and they live streamed a Gaga concert.
And didn't you get a free House of Gaga eyeliner which you gave to me? Isn't that where you got that?
Yes, yeah, House Labs, yeah.
House Labs, yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have it?
I still have it. Yeah, it's a good one.
And for anyone who doesn't know, the Gaga makeup range is suitable for vegans. But yeah, I got this T-shirt, and it was the largest T-shirt they had, and it was only since I've lost weight from, since, spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to some of the recent episodes, where I've lost a bit of weight being on Manjaro, and I can now finally wear this T-shirt, like however many years after the fact that it was, current.
We could do a whole episode on the just the sort of but the situation with clothing and weight fluctuation. Like, it is such a can of worms. Like, I don't know. Maybe we'll dedicate a whole future episode to that.
I don't know if it's a whole episode though, but
well, maybe not.
Yeah, the amount of times in my life where I've gotten rid of clothes and then I've needed them again because my weight has gone up and down, up and down. It's spiraled. It's all over the place. And, you only have so much space, right? We're not rich people with big houses where we have lots of storage.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you've got like a meter of hanging space, for things on coat hangers, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And, like, you just don't have room. And so, like, with like weight fluctuation, so yeah, if you go back a couple of episodes, if you haven't watched already, Sean and I talk about our disordered eating and compulsive eating and our experience using tirzepatide, also known as Manjaro. But our weight has fluctuated a lot over the years, and that feeling of, I've lost some weight, I'm going to get rid of all my big extra large and extra large clothes because I'm never going to need them again. And then of course, the weight creeps back on, and it's just it's such a roller coaster, and it's financially it's a burden, but emotionally as well it's such a burden.
It's so stressful. Like when you have compulsive eating or your weight goes up and down, having to make that decision to, okay, now I've got to get the fat box of clothes out again.
Dust off the fat box from underneath the bed and get out the old like oversized shirts and stuff. It's like,
I don't have this time around with the weight loss, because I just don't have the space. I'm had to get rid of a lot of the bigger clothes, and I don't have them now. So I'm gonna have to
stay on the Manjaro.
Stay on the Manjaro forever, or else
it might be cheaper to stay on the Manjaro than to replace all your clothes with more clothes.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that episode of where we discuss Manjaro is our most watched episode.
Yeah, well, it's very, it's very topical, isn't it? At the moment, more and more people are using that drug. I think, is it 1 in 6 adults in America are on some
Really?
form of, whether it's Ozempic, Mounjaro, or Wegovy.
What are some of
Um,
the other names of Wegovy?
Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro. They're the only three branded names I know
I
of.
thought there were other ones as well.
Well, there is.
If anyone's listening to this and they know of more, leave a comment. I did have to go back through one of the old episodes, the one where we discussed lanolin, and I put a few corrections in the comments.
Oh, you did? I didn't notice. What? Why?
Just some of
What needed correcting?
stupid things we were saying. I mean, I was like, oh, they get vitamin D and vitamin E from lanolin, and it actually doesn't come from it. It's used in the process of synthesizing
Oh,
vitamin
really?
D.
So it's not even an essential part of.
I don't think it is. I think they just use it in the process of
That's even
synthesizing it.
that's even more ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
it's. I'm not saying I agree with it, but you can kind of see an argument for if lanolin. I mean, if vitamin D existed in the lanolin itself, you could
yeah.
see a justification almost. You could see an argument for
And
using it, but
and I also said that it's a secretion, which is correct, but I said that it's from a range of animals, mainly sheep, but it's only sheep. It's
isn't that
only
interesting that only sheep produce that?
Yeah, and these sheep obviously they create this, but then they've been genetically bred to obviously produce more.
Selectively bred.
Selectively bred
Yeah.
to create more. But yeah, I watching that episode back, I was like, what was I talking about? Like, I know we run fast and loose with the truth around here, but
Fast and loose.
obviously everything is just our
Speak for yourself. Speak
no,
for
but
yourself.
a lot of what we're talking about is our recollections or what we've heard.
Yeah, I know.
This
I know.
isn't a scientifically based podcast. We're not doing research. But even with that, by those standards, I was like, oh, this is pretty flimsy. So apologies to anybody. I mean, it doesn't change the basis of that conversation, which is I don't feel like lanolin should even be considered vegetarian, let alone vegan. So
No, true. But
um,
I think we do sort of have a caveat or an advisory on every episode that these are just our opinions, and what we say may or may not bear any relation to the actual truth.
okay, can I sing a song for you? A very topical
Yes.
song.
Yes, of course.
See if you can guess the tune. Okay,
All right.
There's a disclaimer here that I cannot sing as well.
I know. That's
so
why I was like so surprised you're willing to sing on.
apologies. I'm gonna sing.
Okay.
I saw this on social media and I thought it was a bit funny. Old Pope turned 88. He met with J.D. Vance and died the next day.
That's brilliant.
Isn't that good?
Brilliant. Yeah, love it.
Sorry, apologies to whoever I stole that from. I didn't write down who posted that, and then I also don't know if they were the first person to say it either.
Right.
You never know on social media who's lifted what. But how do you feel about the Pope's passing?
Well, I have no emotional connection to Pope Francis. Was it?
Yeah, Pope Francis.
I mean, we've talked about religion on this podcast before, and how I just, I have no issue with spirituality, but as soon as it becomes like an establishment, as soon as it becomes an organized religion, I just think it can be wielded to create such damage in the world. And the Catholic Church, I don't think anyone needs to no one needs explain to them what sort of terrible things the Catholic Church has done, particularly in recent times. So I didn't really feel anything, but I did message you, didn't I, last night, to say I had a customer in my work yesterday who had just found out that the Pope had died, and she was in tears, and I was like, my God, like, I was going to say, should I not use the Lord's name in vain, but as if I care. But, I was like, wow, it's surprising to see somebody have such an emotional reaction to that. But then I thought, well, if Gaga was to suddenly die
if Stevie Nicks died,
yeah, I would cry. I remember. Do you remember when you told me Carrie Fisher died, and I was just in floods of tears? I was just a wreck,
yeah.
So I suppose, different strokes for different folks.
What do you know about Pope Francis?
I know that he's Argentinian, and that everyone's like, oh, he was the most progressive pope.
Oh,
But
that old chestnut.
yeah, but it's like, well, yeah, if you compare it to a fucking centuries and centuries of just horrible, horrible policy or horrible, what's the word? Not mantra, like religious doctrine.
Doctrine.
But yeah, that's all I really know. What are your thoughts on
I don't know.
Pope
Like,
Francis?
I find the whole concept of a pope ludicrous. Like, it is so bizarre to me. So now that this person has died, they're going to have a meeting of whoever they are. Who are the people that get together and have the papal conclave?
The council, the High Council. I don't know.
And
I do kind of want to see the film now, Conclave, because everyone said it's quite good, and now it's very topical. So
they're going to have a meeting to discuss who will be the next pope. But it is so bizarre to me that a group of humans with immense privilege and secrecy and power get together and decide who millions and, well, a billion, I don't know how many Catholics there are on the planet, will consider this person the most important representation of their religious belief.
yeah,
like it's all decided amongst just a handful of people.
Yeah, and not only just a handful of people, but a handful of men, cis men, and of course the new pope will be a cis man. I mean, that in and of itself, is problematic. And I remember years ago, I was having at university in one of my Spanish classes, I was having a conversation with a woman who was, I don't know if she was Catholic, she was Christian.
Yeah.
And someone said something about, the patriarchy of Christianity. And she was like, it's not patriarchal. And I was like, excuse me. I was like, what are you talking about? Of course it's patriarchal. Like, the Pope is always a man. How can you dispute? Anyway, and she just wouldn't acknowledge it. But anyway, so I mean, it's just, yeah, it's a bit ludicrous to have. And I think all of the major religions are led by men, aren't they? Led by cis men. I mean,
I think
I can't think of another.
Well, the only one we know of that is a spiritual belief system that is guided by a woman is Supreme Master Ching Hai, who we have spoken about on the podcast before, but not for a long time. I mean, we're at episode 41 or 42 now, and we spoke about Ching Hai right back in the beginning. Maybe we'll do a deep dive into Ching Hai one day again. Yeah. But so, what year was this Pope born, do you think?
Well, sing me the song again.
Old Pope turned 88, and I don't even know if he was 88. That's just the thing I saw.
Think he was. I think he was 88. Let me see if I can quickly do some maths. So he was born in 1937.
Well, I saw online that was 1936.
36, okay.
So his family originally were from Italy, I believe. And the story goes, once again, who knows? History is just, who knows what's true or not, right?
But there's interestingly, just to go off on a little tangent, but there's that whole thing about Argentina and how all of Latin America says that Argentinians don't think of themselves as Latin American. They think of themselves as European. Okay. And so, like, whenever you meet, well, I mean, this is obviously a broad generalization, but like when you do meet Argentinians, they'll often say, oh yeah, I'm from Argentina, but my family is Italian. My family is German, or, there's that real, and there was a horrible thing that the president of Argentina said, which maybe I won't repeat on the podcast, several years ago, which led in, like, it sort of drew on some very racist tropes. But anyway, so go on, continue.
So what it says a few places online about Pope Francis's family was that they left Italy because of Mussolini, so when would Mussolini have been hanging around? What?
Well, that would have been 30s, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So if Pope Francis was born in 1936 in Buenos Aires, that probably lines up with getting away from Mussolini, right?
Yeah.
Did I tell you that, a CPAP recap for people? Did I tell you what I jokingly call my CPAP mask?
No.
I call it a muzzle.
Okay.
And that has somehow morphed into me at bedtime being Muzzolini. Just to keep it topical with Pope Francis.
I love how you've woven in a CPAP recap into the papal paps, into the PPAP. I don't know. We'll have to work on that.
Recap with a bit of CPAP on the side.
Yeah.
I really take a lot of... Is umbrage a word? What does that mean? Am I just saying that as a...
Yeah, objection.
Objection to people talking about Pope Francis having been progressive or kind or compassionate. It's part of a structure or system that oppresses the entire planet and has profited and exists through the subjugation and oppression and murder of hundreds of millions of people. I don't find anything really to celebrate about it. And do you remember when that person, they were a county clerk officer in Kentucky called Kim Davis in 2015?
I do remember this.
Or she refused to hand out marriage licenses to same-sex couples, even though same-sex marriage had been legalized, and she refused, and she stood her ground, and it was her faith and protest in her faith, and I think she went to prison for about 6 days to pay. She was, what do you call that? Like, sentenced? Was she sentenced?
I don't know. I don't know what the legal police judicial thing is. But
do you know that Pope Francis went and met with her?
Yep,
and
I remember that.
Took audience with her. So to me, like, if you want to have a conversation on one hand about someone being progressive and kind to LGBT people, but then you don't want to see how problematic that is, out of all of the people in the US to talk to, like, not trying to take counsel with, I don't know, AIDS campaigners or, I don't know, whoever else you could.
I see what you're saying. However, I don't think we know. I don't think anyone knows except that woman and the Pope what that conversation was. So, I mean...
Well, he was publicly on record as saying that he didn't think gay marriage should exist.
Okay.
So if that was his take, right. What's he going to be doing? Trying to talk her into what? Handing them out?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I suppose there is a possibility, a remote possibility, that he met with her and he said, look, we have our beliefs, but, we also have to recognize the decisions and the right to autonomy. Fellatio. The right to autonomy for people within our community, and we have to respect the law. He may have done that, but the fact that he publicly supported her does make you think, well, or he publicly met with her. He could have done it in private, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it does make you think maybe that he was just showing solidarity with her. But who knows? I mean,
and I don't think she was Catholic. So it's weird to me that he would go and meet with some religious zealot of another Christian denomination. I think she was Pentecostal.
Oh, okay.
So it's weird to me that he would go and meet some anti-gay, like, from another country, from where he lived or was born, and doesn't really go to very much and has nothing to do with, would go meet some, I don't know, low-life fucking... I don't even know. It's so bizarre to me. And yeah, it's just like that to me doesn't really speak to his protection or compassion for LGBT community members.
Yeah. And I think all of that stuff about him being the most progressive pope, it's only because of a backdrop of such horrible, vile, conservative, hateful politics, or I don't know, politics is maybe not the right word, but opinions or views expressed by the Catholic Church for the prior, 100, 200, 300 years or whatever. So but yeah, that was funny, that woman sort of breaking down in tears at work yesterday. I was a bit lump, but I suppose the Pope was her Gaga, the Pope was her Carrie Fisher.
The Pope was her Gaga.
But another situation I want to talk about that happened at work last week. This is my old job because I'm at my new job, but I'm still doing a couple
Are
of
you
days.
straddling two worlds?
I am. I've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Are you?
And
Have you got 1 foot in tomorrow, 1 foot in yesterday, and you're pissing on today?
the fuck is that?
I don't know. I heard it somewhere.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm just between jobs. Well, not between jobs. I'm straddling two jobs.
Pissing on today. I love it.
But something happened at work the other day, and it was so because a couple of weeks ago, can we say their name? But a couple of weeks ago, I went to see our friends who run a vegan boutique in.
Well, if you're not going to say their names, but you're going to say they run a bit. This is the address and the postcode of the shop.
All right. Well, I'll just say it. So our friends James and Ange, they run a vegan boutique in Camden, Brecknock Road, Kentish Town, that sort of area. Kentish Town, I think, officially.
Yeah.
Called the Third Estate. And I went to see them the other week, and they're such lovely people, and they've got such a gorgeous shop. And they were saying that they'd had people in a few days before I saw them who would come in and try shoes on to see what sort of size, they needed. And then they would say, oh, I'm just going to buy them online. It's cheaper.
Yes.
Or I'm going to buy them direct from from the manufacturer or whatever. It's cheaper. And they were just expressing their complete sort of exasperation.
Yeah.
That people would have the gall, the barefaced cheek to do that, and not only to do it, but to say it. So that I'd just seen them, and then last week at work, I'd been working in a plant nursery, and somebody called up, and I was on the phone to them for about 6-7 minutes talking to them about their olive trees, and one of them wasn't doing so well, so I was going through the whole, have you done this? What blah blah blah. So a good 6 or 7 minutes investment.
Yeah.
And then I was recommending a product that we sell called Olive Focus, which is a
Olive Focus.
Olive Focus. It's a fertilizer that's custom made for olives.
That could be your drag name.
Olive Focus. And she said, "Oh, that sounds great. Can I buy it over the phone?" I said, "Well, you can buy it on our website." And she said, "No, I don't want to do that. Remember that." She said, "I don't want to do that. I'd rather buy it over the phone." And I said, "Okay, well, let me see if I can get hold of somebody, because all our phone orders are processed by the mail order department."
Yeah.
So I tried to get hold of them, and they couldn't take the call because there were bees swarming in the backfield. That's a whole nother story, because there's like a bee colony that lives next to their office, and sometimes it swarms. Anyway, so they couldn't take the call. So I went back to her. I went back to the call, and I said, "I'm really sorry. They can't do it over the phone at the moment. Can I get your number, and I'll have them call you back in the next half hour?" And she said, "Oh, no, do you know what? I've just found it on Amazon. I'm going to order it now, and I can get it tomorrow." And I was like, "Well, A, did you just not say you couldn't use our website to buy something?
Yeah.
And B, like, what if you're going to do that? Why would you tell me that?"
People don't see it. They don't understand.
They don't see the problematic nature of it. And then the kicker though was, then she said to me, "So when it arrives tomorrow, how do I use it?" And at that point I said, "Well, if you're going to order it on Amazon, you can read the instructions on the side of the bottle." I was incensed. And because I was leaving the job anyway, I was very close to like just unleashing the beast and just being like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? How do you think the fucking world works? Why would you call an independent family business and take up 10 minutes of our time talking to us about a product that we sell, and then go and fucking buy it from Amazon, a multinational corporation that just shits on the fucking workers, it shits on the environment, it doesn't pay enough taxes? Like, fuck you. I was incensed. I was so annoyed.
It sends Katy Perry to space.
Yes.
Do you remember there was that shop in Australia, in Brisbane? It was a gluten-free health food shop. It was near Cooperoo, I think. And I don't know if we ever went there, but we'd read about it. And they were on the news for charging people an entry fee to the shop because they had that problem. So many people were coming in, looking at all the products that were available, writing them down, and then going and buying them on Amazon and online shopping where they could get discounts or drop shipping to get it cheaper. And so they started charging people, I think it was about $10 entry to the shop. And then if you spent money, you got that back.
Right, okay.
It got taken off your bill. But if you walked around and looked at stuff and then you didn't buy anything and left, you didn't get your $10 back. And I find that interesting. I don't think it would probably be a sustainable business model.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they still around? Like, did that work?
Probably not. But they said to the news reporter, I just don't know what else to do. Like, these people are they're using our knowledge. They're coming in and asking questions. They're asking about a specialized subject area like celiac disease and gluten-free eating and ingredients and allergens. And I've spent my life understanding this, and I've put all my money and effort into having this shop that focuses on this, and they want to come and use me as Ask Jeeves.
It's so fucking insulting. Like, I really, I just, my blood boils when I think about it. Like, why would you, okay, so what if you can maybe get it a bit cheaper, or you can get it tomorrow?
Yeah.
Why would you not support a local business? Like, it's just fucking ludicrous. Like, we've spoken about it on the podcast before. I think there's some statistic, which I'm probably not going to quote accurately, but it's something like for every pound you spend...
Don't let that stop you.
Well, it never has. But if you spend £1 with a local business, an independent local business, something like 80 pence of that pound stays within the local community. But if you spend that pound in Tesco or with Amazon, none of that money stays within the local community. So it's like, it's such a microcosm of so many like fucked up things that happen in our world today. Like, people care more about, convenience and cost than community, than their local environment. It infuriates me.
And, talking about Amazon and that space flight, what's your take on that whole concept of Katy Perry and those other people going to space in inverted commas?
Well, do you know what? I'm not qualified to talk about it. I don't really know anything about it. I've been in a sort of a vacuum in terms of like culture in the last week.
So was Katy Perry. She was in space.
Well, maybe I was in space then, but I still haven't managed to catch up on the entire Gaga performance from 2 weeks ago at Coachella. I haven't watched any of the Green Day performance yet.
What do you mean? You haven't watched the entire Gaga performance? So what did you do? You started watching it and then you stopped?
Yeah, I started watching it, and I'm about halfway through. I'm up to Alejandro, and I haven't had time to catch up. So I actually know nothing really, just like stuff I've fleetingly seen on Instagram about this space flight. So I don't really understand.
Okay, well, you understand the concept that there were a handful of people who all identify as women who went on a 11-minute journey up into the outer atmosphere to the edge of space, experienced weightlessness as they started to drop back down. They were experiencing weightlessness, or they were in space for maybe about 4 minutes, I think, and then they came back down and landed, and it was very cringe because you had people like Katy Perry holding up like a butterfly sticker for advertising her new tour that she's about to go on with all the names of the songs she's going to perform, and holding up a little daisy because her child's name is Daisy. I mean, that's one thing, whatever. But then when she landed again, she like got out and kissed the ground, and it was like, mate, it was 11 minutes. It's just like so bizarre to me. But the thing that I had, well, there were a few things I had a bit of a problematic take with on it, were just the money involved to do that. And what return does humanity get for that?
But can you explain to me what was the purpose of this?
Well, it was I think it was like a promotional thing. Like Jeff Bezos, it was his, how he's got his own space company?
I don't know if I did know that. I mean, okay, obviously I know Musk has.
Yeah, so he's got his own, and they're kind of seen as like a little bit of in competition with each other. And they do things like they get paid by governments to deliver workloads or payloads to space station and send satellites up and all this sort of space business.
I wonder if they've ever delivered olive focus to the International Space Station.
Olive focus, maybe. Maybe for when they start growing olive trees on Mars. But so for some reason they decided, so his wife is, I don't know what she does, like she's a celebrity or famous for being his wife, and she was one of them. Gayle King was another one of the passengers, who was Oprah's best friend and a TV host. I think out of all of them, the person
and alleged lesbian lover, but that's not fair.
Well, I think there was one person who was maybe the closest to being associated with space travel, some sort of aeronautical engineer, and then Katy Perry. So they were kind of just like celebrities, but they tried to say that it was about showing that they were an all-women crew, they could do this, they could take up space and create space through the divine feminine and all this.
So a man sent women into space.
Well, I'm sure women were involved in the process of getting it there and all of the processes that have happened in the last few decades. But yeah, it looked very tokenistic.
Yeah, it's performative feminism.
And calling them a crew is a bit weird because they weren't flying it.
Right, they haven't trained for the last 15 years to become, astronauts.
And out of all of that, I mean, all of these people are either extremely wealthy or have access to wealth beyond the means of most women and girls on the planet. Like the majority, 99.99% of women on the planet will never know. What did this achieve? What does it achieve to send rich people to space for 11 minutes, and it cost millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to do it?
Well, yeah, if you really wanted to do something for women and for girls around the world, then spend that money on initiatives that actually help people, and also don't fucking destroy the planet while you're doing it. Like, how much fuel would they have had to have burned? And
and then also, like, even if you say, if you don't want to have the argument, they could have built a school for children or something, take all that out of it. Just give that money to a handful of families to buy homes who don't have homes, or buy groceries for hundreds of families for a year, or whatever it is that you could do with that money. I don't see, like, what happened out of this. Did they study the ozone layer? Or was it just some
they probably blew a fucking bigger hole in it, but yeah.
Yeah, they studied the ozone layer as they disintegrated it.
Yeah.
But what did anybody, including them, us, humanity, the planet, what did anybody get out of this trip other than just promotional, getting on the news? Like, what did anybody get out of it?
Yeah.
Like, no, they didn't do any scientific study, from as far as I can tell from all of the press released about it. It is so redundant and ridiculous to send people to space for no reason. I mean, it's as ludicrous as sending people to the bottom of the ocean and then they get crushed. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think it reeks of people with too much money, that they just, have to find new ways to spend money. And I mean, I can think of a lot of ways they could spend money.
Yeah.
Better, but bring it back to the micro level. This is it. Like, when you choose not to support a local business, an independent business, and then when you buy your shit from Amazon, this is the kind of shit that you're supporting. Just like, you're not contributing to a better world by doing that.
Yeah.
I boycott Amazon. I won't use them. I haven't used them for years. I just think it's such, I know that just one person acting alone is not going to change it, and for every person that does boycott Amazon, there'll be 100 who won't have any issue with Amazon. But I just find it it's such a microcosm of everything that's wrong with society, wrong with the world, that we're just giving our money to these corporations who don't do any good for our environment, for our communities.
I think I still have a link Yeah, I do. I have a link to Amazon for my book, to buy my book.
Oh, right, yeah.
But there really aren't that many alternatives that are globally accessible for people. So Amazon for me is kind of like a catch-all. So no matter where somebody lives in the world, they can buy it. I think I also have a link to hive.co.uk, which is that independent it's like a
network of...
Yeah, it's like a portal. So you place your order and then they furnish your order through the nearest independently owned business, high street business. So it could be music or books. I think it's mostly just music and books. And so you put in your address and then they say, oh, okay, well, you live here, this bookstore, we're going to place your order. So it's the same price as what you'd be paying on Amazon. It might not be as quick, like it might take a day or two more, but it's a way to support independent business. But the majority of people, if I tell them to order my book from there, won't order it. They just would rather not order the book than go through that process of, people just want to not think. They want it to be the simplest thing. They want everything that they consider to be hard work to be taken out of spending their money. They just want to give their money, press a button, and then that's it. And so that's why Amazon works so well. And if you can promise people next day delivery, because, we're all like so caught up in instant gratification and getting things straight away. And there's the digital age of where everything is right now and given to us. So I shamefully do have a link to Amazon on my website, as well as the link for the Hive portal. But people would not buy the book if they couldn't get it through Amazon. The majority of people wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, for all the couple of hundred people who watch this podcast, please do reconsider using Amazon. I just think there are so many other places you could spend your money that where it would benefit you and your environment and your community better than supporting Jeff Bezos sending women into space.
It also feels a little problematic to me to even have a negative. Oh, sorry, I'm about to cough. Excuse me.
Do you need to mute? You need to put your Mussolini on.
My Mussolini. It feels a little problematic to be sitting here to be critical of something like women going to space. It feels sexist or bordering on like elements of misogyny. But I think this is a class thing more than it's like a women thing. So it's...
I think it's, I think it's contextual. I think we're not saying I don't think, either of us are saying there's anything wrong with women going into space, but it's got to be meaningful. It can't just be this tokenistic thing where a very, very rich man, is he the world's richest man?
Maybe Elon Musk is.
One of the world's richest men just sends women into space, and women who, for the most part, it sounds like, don't actually have a background in astronautical engineering, or what I mean? Like, it's not celebrating. It's what it seems to be celebrating is wealth and fame. That seems to be what it's a celebration of, and it's not a celebration of women to me.
It just feels in poor taste to the world is falling to pieces. The US economy especially is crashing. There are all these things happening against queer, trans people. There are wars going on. There are, oppressive things happening all over the planet. And these, however many, 6 or 7 hyper-rich, wealthy, privileged people are going to space and trying to frame it as it's doing something good for humanity. It is ludicrous and very, very insulting to everybody. Like, what is that? Who's that going to inspire? Is that going to inspire some little girl in Gaza whose whole family has been killed and she's got no foot? Or like, is that going to inspire, somebody like a young woman living in, I don't know, a young trans woman living in Newcastle who fears for her life, and now that these laws have been passed in the UK, like, is it going to inspire, like, a middle class woman in Australia who's working in, like, I don't know, a takeaway shop or something and earning the minimum wage in Australia and isn't rich by a lot of people's standards in Australia? Who's it inspiring? Who's going to go, oh, now I can do anything because Katy Perry and Gayle King went to space for 11 minutes?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I call bullshit.
absolute bullshit. Hey, I need to ask you something about something that I think is particularly English,
Oh yeah.
but I'm sure, like I read online before, that it's also in Australia, but I don't have much memory of it. Carvery. What does that word mean to you?
Carvery is like, I mean, I don't know what the actual definition is, but culturally, it's used to refer to like normally on a Sunday, you would go to like a restaurant or a pub which does carvery. I don't because I've been vegan for so long and then vegetarian before that. I actually have no direct experience with it. But I think it's like, yeah, you go to somewhere and it's where they have lots of different meats. So there'll be like a different roasted animals, different
Yeah.
sliced animal meat. I don't know really.
And the idea is it's kind of set up like a buffet. And you
Yeah,
go along and you're meant to slice the meat yourself
I
as you
think
go
so.
along.
I
And
mean,
that's
it's
why
revolting.
you're carving it. So anyway, there's a vegan restaurant in London called Unity Diner that was helped set up by the activist called Earthling Ed. And it's near Spitalfields, like it's on Petticoat Lane, which is Wentworth Street, I believe the correct name of the street is. Just around the corner from Commercial Street or Commercial Road. And they closed for a little while. They thought they were going to go out of business.
Well, we talked about them on about a month or two ago on the pod, didn't we? The landlord tried to put the rent up.
Yeah, well now they're back again, and
back from space.
One of the things they've started doing is vegan carvery. I think it's the first place in London that's ever had it. So they have different types of, vegan meat alternatives, like vegan chicken or vegan lamb, whatever they've got made of seitan or tofu or however they've done it. And it just got me thinking. When I heard that, I thought, that sounds so English, like
carvery.
It, like
I'm sure I've seen it in Australia as well.
Well, I searched online before because I was thinking about it, and it says that it is known in the UK, Ireland, Canada, and Australia. But I don't think it's that common in Australia. Maybe it's kind of like a pub thing, right? Or like RSL. Do you know, people listening won't know what RSL is, but it's like a members club for people who used to be in the armed forces. So I think it stands for Retired Servicemen's League.
Yeah.
Because it's old and sexist. But you'd go there and they would have live entertainment, or you'd go there and there'd be food or cheap meals, or go there to have drinks, and they were like usually around in most suburbs would have an RSL, a local chapter.
But they were cheap places to drink. They weren't I don't think they were sort of profit driven. I think they were run more like...
They probably were profit driven. And I think they even had like pokey machines.
Pokies.
So when I was a kid growing up in Queensland, we would go to the RSL for a cheap meal or a cheap drink, and the RSL Kalanga, if anyone wants to look it up, it might still exist. Probably. And they would often have like, I don't know, an old cannon out the front from the war, and it was all very like jingoistic and like celebrating Australian soldiers and
militarism
diggers.
And stuff.
Militarism, it's very distasteful to me as an adult. As a kid, it was just part of the landscape. I didn't really understand. And people on Anzac Day would go there and celebrate.
Do you want to explain what that is? Because outside Australia, I don't think anyone knows what Anzac Day is.
It's so boring, isn't it? Anzac Day is a commemoration of a battle where a lot of Australian and New Zealand fighters or soldiers were killed in a place called
Gallipoli. Was it
Gallipoli? I can't, because I'm so out of the loop of jingoism and Australianism, and I even forget when it is. I think it's in April. April 25th. So actually, we're recording this a few days before.
Oh, yeah.
So it's to commemorate all Australians and New Zealanders who served and died in all wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping operations, and the contribution and suffering of all those who have served. I think it originally started just to commemorate the Gallipoli campaign in World War One, the First World War. Yeah. But then over time, because there have been so many wars, they've incorporated the commemoration of those who died or survived other conflicts as well. And
what does Anzac stand for?
I think it stands for Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. Yeah,
Okay.
Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, or Corps. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's got a P in it, but I think it's silent.
Yeah, Corp.
And
Yeah.
and it's observed by Australia, Christmas Island, the Coco Islands, the Cook Islands, New Zealand, I don't know, a few other places, Tonga. But sorry to be dismissive of these other places. I just realised I probably shouldn't read out the whole list. It's not very exciting to people. If anyone's interested in finding out more about Anzac Day, I find it really distasteful as somebody from Australia.
Well, it's a celebration of military. I mean, yes, it's a commemoration,
Yeah.
but it's done within that paradigm of celebrating military action and so
Yeah.
anyway.
And it's also like it's also a perpetuation of the falsehood of mateship in Australia and larrikinism and jingoism, that us mates look out for each other. It's the Aussie battler spirit that we went there and we did what we need to do and we look out for each other, when really it's all born out of like imperialism and racism. And don't get me started, it's horrible. But I'm just having a look at criticism of Anzac Day of it's also, I think, seen as a political exploitation of people who were sent to slaughter as well. So it's not only like the oppressive
And
nature that it permeates out of it, like that sort of celebration of colonialism and jingoism, and it is also, it's a way to politicize the death of these young people, often men, who were sent to war knowing they were going to be killed for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
but what I may be misremembering, but Anzac biscuits do they have any relation to Anzac Day, or do they just share that common name?
Maybe they were made on that date. Let me have a quick look. But
so they're like a sort of what are Anzac biscuits? They're kind of like an oats. Yeah, they're not flapjacks, but they've got sort of an oaty.
Yeah, they're made using rolled oats, flour, sugar, butter or margarine, golden syrup, baking soda, boiling water, and optionally, I can remember some people used to put desiccated coconut in them. And they've been long associated with the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, established in World War One. So they must have been an easy or cheap recipe to make. Maybe they sent them. I don't know. Maybe they sent them to soldiers.
Maybe during rations, during periods of rationing in the war. I don't know. But I mean, they sound kind of like flapjacks with those.
They're very delicious.
Yeah,
they're really tasty, really chewy, and the golden syrup gives them a caramelly flavor. But anyway, so I was thinking of carvery because the Unity Diner now has a vegan carvery that I'd like to try, but I'm very skeptical of how mindful people are going to be when they go there, because some vegans can be very opportunistic with like serve yourself. Well, people can in general, not just vegans, but because I'm in the vegan world, I'm critical of greedy vegans. But like if you go to a carvery, it's normally like you pay one price and then you go along and you help yourself. You don't get to go back. Like you just go once, but there's not really a limit to what you can put on your plate. So I'm very scared that they're going to put themselves out of business.
Do you remember? We can't name names. Do you remember that person? So Sean and I, this is going back, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago, roughly. We had moved back to London 2010. And there wasn't a lot of vegan stuff in London at the time, so we started running a monthly event, and it was called the Vegan Potluck. And so people and we did it at a few locations, and we settled on one location, which was at a university, an American university where I was working. They had a sort of community space in the basement, and we did it there. So anyone could come. They didn't have to be vegan, but you had to bring vegan. Well, the idea was that you would bring a plate of vegan food that you'd made yourself to share, and that we could all, get to. It was a community building event. It built social capital, but it was also great to taste vegan food that other people had made, to get ideas and inspiration. Especially if you were newly vegan, and you could experience all sorts of different recipes and cuisines, and it was overall it was a good event. But I was just thinking, when you said about greedy vegans, it just made me think, and I know you know who I'm talking about. There was this one person,
their name so
we can't
bad.
say their name, but there was this one person that used to come, and they would, like, I'm not joking when I say, they would pile their plate, and it was like a full-size dinner plate as well. They would pile their plate, and this is not a comment on compulsive eating or food shaming or anything like that. It was just like the what's not the decorum, what's the word, the behavior, the etiquette. I think the etiquette is the word. Like, it was so comical that they would pile their plates so high with food, and there was never a shortage of food at these things.
But not only would they pile their food high, they would push run and push other people out of the way to get to the food to be first. So I used to do a welcome speech at the beginning of London Vegan Potluck and say, thanks for everyone coming. This is how it works. This is what it means for the community, blah, blah, blah. And this person was like, you could see them like a wild animal waiting to get out of a cage, like released back into the wilderness. They stood there with the plate, and they were like, like this, moving. And then as soon as I say, enjoy, they would like, and sprint and run. Yeah. I mean, I see it as, I came to see it as some sort of, I don't know, like, not like a disorder.
Compulsive behavior?
Yeah, some sort of, compulsive behavior, or something where they felt that they were compelled to do it. We were a bit unkind in private about them, because it was very annoying to us, because it would cause upset to the other.
Just not to try and draw parallels that aren't there, but like, it's that same, going back to what I was saying earlier in the podcast about not ordering from Amazon. It's just like, I think we've always got to sort of be mindful of, like, our actions shouldn't be seen as individual, they should be seen collectively. And if everyone behaved like that, it would ruin an event. If everyone bought everything from Amazon, it would ruin society. It would ruin independent business.
It is.
Well, it is. It has, and it is. But like, if everyone behaved like that, and it's just like, look around, like, think about your actions. And anyway, so there was that. But there were all sorts of other, like, shenanigans that used to happen. Like, people would show up with non-vegan food, and sometimes, most times, they would say, it's vegetarian, it's not vegan.
I turned people away who showed up with non-vegan food, and they were like,
can't we just have a vegetarian section in the corner? It's like, no, fuck off.
Or they would say to me, I'll keep the vegetarian food in my bag then, and I'll just stay and eat. And I said, no, you can't do that. That's not equitable to people. People would show up. I had to change the rule after a while, because it was just bring vegan food, but people were just showing up with, like, I don't know, a punnet of grapes from Sainsbury's.
Not even. People would show up with a fucking carton of, like, orange juice or something, and it's like, you can't.
Yeah. And not even bring anything, any cups, or and just leave it, or like put strawberries on the table in a sealed container and just leave it there and walk away and start helping themselves to food.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, have you washed the strawberries? Are they ready to eat? Like, and so I made a rule and enforced it where people weren't allowed to come without homemade food, homemade vegan food. Yeah. And I would turn people away at the door. And I remember people yelling at me saying, well, I've come all this way. And I said, it's clearly stated in the rules of the group. Yeah. And I said, it's not fair that people have spent a couple of hours making food. Then you just come here with a packet of rich tea biscuits or something.
Or people would say things like, like, I'm only visiting London, I don't have access to a kitchen. It's like, you can still do something. You could go and buy a packet of cocktail sticks and some olives and some vegan cheese and cut it up, and you could do something.
But also, I would also say to people, then maybe this event isn't made for you. This is, we also have London vegan drinks where you don't have to cook anything, but you can come and socialize with people. That also happens once a month. And if you don't happen to be here on that day, well, that's just tough luck, mate. It's like, like there are lots of events going on. You're like, oh, I just couldn't get
I'm
over
just thinking.
people's entitlement.
I just remember that person we were talking about before. I'm not going to say their name, but I just remembered our nickname for them
Yeah,
was.
that's what I was laughing at the whole time. I wanted to say the nickname.
I'd forgotten our nickname, but our nickname
Yeah.
for them. Can I say it? It was.
No,
It
you can't, because if they ever watch this, they'll know. And I mean, they'll know who we're talking about anyway. But it's not
All
not very compassionate to say even the nickname because it rhymed with their name.
All right.
But
yeah,
talking
okay.
about going back to carvery, I want to go and try the carvery at Unity Diner. But when he said the word, when Andy at Unity Diner said the word carvery to me, I just instantly, the first thing I think of when I hear that word is the in-betweeners. That
do they go to the carvery?
Do you remember when they go to the pub and like the in-betweeners is a comedy show about a group of high school boys who sort of stumbling their way through the world and learning life lessons, and it's very outrageous and rude and I think very funny. Mm-hmm. But they go to the pub and they order, well, they try to order a pint, and the bartender says, well, where's your ID? And they say, we don't have any ID. And they go, well, no ID, no pint. And then Jay has a fake Australian driver's license, and he's in this really bad Australian accent. He's like, 1 pint, mate. And he goes, there you go, 1 pint. And he goes, oh, Struth, thanks. Anyway, but then Will has read the legal, like the liquor laws of the UK that said any child under the age of 16 can have a Perry cider or a Perry mead or something if accompanied by an adult and having carvery, having a meal. So he asks some guy in the bar, he goes, will you sit with us while we have a carvery and I'll buy your drinks for you? And the guy goes, yeah, okay. Then he goes back and he goes, okay, I'll have 4 carveries and 4 pints of cider, please.
I'm intrigued by vegan carvery. I'm
probably
curious.
You eat gluten-free, so it probably won't be gluten-free.
No, probably not. But speaking of children, the drinking laws in the UK, I know that well now because my nieces were just visiting from America last week, and the oldest one is 16, and so she was able to have a half of shandy or whatever. If we were eating in a pub and she was with an adult, she could have a half of shandy, so she was very excited about that. But I don't think I told you this because I just haven't had a proper catch up with you in the last week or so. But we went to, I'm not going to name them, but in London. Well, actually, I think they maybe are outside of London too. But there's a chain of vegetarian Indian restaurants in London.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you want to name them?
Well, because of the story I'm about to tell.
Okay.
But we went to one of them on, I don't know what day it was, Friday, I think.
Yeah.
It was me, my brother, my nieces, and my sister and her partner.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely meal. Like I've eaten there in the past, and it's generally been quite good. And it was a lovely meal. But anyway, towards the end of the meal, I was sitting, and my youngest niece was on my right, and I was talking to my sister's partner. And I was talking to him, and out the corner of my eye, I saw this mouse scuttling around. And I was like, prodding my niece. I was like, look. And then, so we looked, and she was like, oh, it's gross, whatever. And anyway, then like there were more. There were, I think, I only saw 2 mice. My niece thinks she saw like 4, but I'm not sure if that's true. But yeah, these mice were like scuttling around the floor, and they were like coming really close. All of us were like, jiggling our feet, keeping them moving.
Normally, mice and rats get quite unnerved. It must be a bit of a problem if they're comfortable.
Yeah,
running
so
up
it was
to people.
It was a little. I mean, to be honest, I just said, look, London. I would put money on most restaurants in London have mice. If it was rats, that would be a bit more of a concern. But
why are rats more concerning than mice?
Well, I just think because they're bigger and they can, they have bigger teeth. They can get into a lot more, food containers and stuff like that. Whereas mice, I think, like rats, what's the word? Not like mice are more sort of scavengers. I think they're opportunists. They eat crumbs on the floor, whereas rats will actually break into like packets of food and stuff like that. I mean, we were fine. None of us got ill after the meal and everything. So
Yeah.
it made me chuckle because it was just quite comedic, like the sort of, and the staff knew that we knew, but no one said anything.
Yeah.
It was quite funny, but I
Um,
don't know. It didn't really
well, you
bother
said what
me.
type of cuisine they are and that they're a chain, so I think people can work it out. You're not good
Yeah,
at
but I
being.
didn't.
You're not good at being discreet. You're like, I won't say their names, but our dear friends that own a vegan shoe shop and a boutique on Brecknock Road in a Kentish town, but I won't say their names.
All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know the law. I don't know what you know. Also, I don't know if these people want to be. I don't think James and Andrew care. Actually, I think they're quite happy to have a critique of people shopping on Amazon. But
Oh yeah, for sure. They wouldn't mind. But I mean, maybe the restaurant with mice infestation would mind being
Well, I didn't name them.
alluded
I didn't name
to.
them.
But you
Didn't
said the
name them.
type of cuisine and that they're a chain.
All right. Well,
But anyway, there are. I think it's legitimate to say you saw mice, right? Like you're not making it up.
well, no. I mean, yeah. And there were 5, 6 of us there.
Oh,
5 of us there.
I saw a mouse once in a
6.
restaurant in Mexico City, and
Oh yeah.
I could never go back there again. Like I just
Oh, I think was it the pizza place?
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't even know if
yeah.
it still exists anymore. But
Yeah.
I was sitting there with Hill, and it walked on the back of the chair like he was sat on a bench, like with a straight back on it, and it walked behind him, like in the space of about that much. It walked all the way across like Ratatouille.
Did it
Yeah.
tip its hat and say "Buen provecho"?
Yeah, Buen Provecho, and then it was the Mexican Ratatouille,
Okay.
and I was just like, oh yeah, like I get it. I know there are mice in big cities, but it's different. Like it's not a logical thing, but it triggers that sort of disgust in your brain where you think, oh yeah, now I can't eat this, you know.
Yeah.
And so I didn't
Yeah.
eat the rest of the meal. I was like, I can't eat this now.
Yeah. I mean, hang on. Can I'm trying to think. I'm trying to be more discreet. In one of the places I've worked, there were mice in the kitchen, and so I would just, if I ever had to do anything in the kitchen, I would like just get out the disinfectant and wipe any surface down. I would wash everything before I used it, that sort of thing. I mean, I don't know. I think we can get a bit oversensitive or squeamish about animals. I mean, we share our space with animals. We share our planet with animals. Like
there must be places where we've all lived where we didn't know there were mice.
For sure.
They've been rampaging at night. You just don't know because they're good at hiding.
Yeah,
you mostly don't see them.
Yeah,
but
they're more discreet than I am.
They would never name drop. You'll never catch a mouse or a rat saying somebody's name on a podcast.
No.
Or
exactly.
you'd probably never see a mouse or a rat shopping on Amazon either. They're much more progressive.
Yeah, I think they're a bit more. Yeah, they're a bit more.
Or you'll never see one of its own free will anyway on a Blue Origin flight with Katy Perry.
Mouse for Pope.
How about no Pope? How about dismantling that whole concept?
Yeah, well, that ain't gonna happen, is it?
And not having that, no religions. Anyway, was there anything else you needed to talk about?
It's maybe not enough time to talk about it in full, but Conclave, the film,
right?
I want to see, but what's his name? Who's the actor who's in Conclave that was in The Devil Wears Prada, and he was playing a gay man? Oh, his name is on the tip of my tongue. What is his name?
Really and do you know what else he's in?
What?
Hill has made me start watching the Hunger Games movies, which
right.
I've never had any interest in. I've watched the first 2. They are the worst pieces of shit that I've ever seen in my life. They're so terrible. And that actor who was in The Devil Wears Prada.
What's his name?
Is it Stanley Tucci?
Stanley Tucci.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's in The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games this will have to be another episode like we talked about Jurassic World.
Yeah.
This is unfucking believably bad. And it is nonsense. And the people that are in it, like Elizabeth Banks and Lenny Kravitz, I'm just what are these people doing? It's terrible. But there's a rumor that there's a new Hunger Games movie coming out that Gaga is going to be in. And so I've decided to watch them in case, because I will want to go and see the Gaga one. Because
But you'll want to know the backstory.
But it is so basic and stupid and insulting to everyone's intelligence.
I think I've seen a Hunger Games film, but I just remember it being quite boring.
Oh, terrible.
But Stanley Tucci, okay, well, maybe we don't have time to get into it. But I was going to say, talk about Stanley Tucci, because he often, has he not sort of made a career of like playing like gay characters?
Yeah, he's always gay. He's always playing a gay person. Even this character in the Hunger Games who isn't like, you don't know anything about their personal life. It's very camp affectations. Like he plays a TV host. Is it
gay coded?
Yeah, it's very camp, and he's like a flamboyant TV host. And you just meant to think, oh yeah, he's a bit queer or something, right? But yeah, I think he has played like gay characters a lot, hasn't he?
Yeah, I've just found that really interesting.
What else have you seen him in?
Well, I'm trying to think now. I'll have to do a bit of live research and look at his IMDb. But I mean,
maybe we need to
maybe we could do a whole episode on, you know, like, well, we could do a whole episode on the Hunger Games, but we could talk about, you know, gay actors playing straight roles, straight actors playing gay roles.
Yeah,
you know, it's interesting, and I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. I just find it curious that someone would gravitate so often to those sorts of roles, or that they would play them so well.
I suppose if your natural demeanor is you come across as a bit gay coded, maybe you just play into it. Like, it's not like, you know, and I know that's a stereotype of what a gay man is like, but he does present like a gay man. Like, I would look at him and go, oh, yeah,
like I was shocked when I found out he wasn't queer, because he plays, you know, and his most famous role probably is in The Devil Wears Prada. And he plays it so well. He plays that sort of campness, that sort of gay coding. He plays it so well. Yeah. So I was so surprised. I suppose that's acting.
And maybe he was in a movie. It was like a romance drama, like a tearjerker, where he was part of a gay couple and his character had early onset dementia.
Oh yeah.
And Colin Firth played the other, and it was about them learning to like deal with dementia as a gay couple. And so, you know, he's played the whole gamut of gay characters. He was in the gayest movie of all time, playing a gay character. He was in Burlesque with Cher and Christina Aguilera. I mean, I've never seen it.
No, I've not seen it either.
I mean, you don't get gayer than that.
No,
like playing a gay character in Burlesque.
With Cher.
I mean, it's so gay. So, I wonder, I suppose, you know, you do what you do as an actor. I mean, I think there is a conversation to be had around, you know, the problematic nature of straight cis people playing queer parts. But I think most people in the queer community would agree that Stanley Tucci gets a pass because of all of the iconic roles that he's played.
Well, I think it was last week, wasn't it? We were talking about that character in Glee, the character was in a wheelchair user, but the actor wasn't. And so, there is a conversation around, you know, having people, you know, I mean, acting by its very name and by its very nature is taking on a role that is different to the person playing it. But there is that sort of conversation to be had.
The argument is that openly queer people have been locked out of participating in these sorts of things in society because of queerphobia, homophobia,
and the same with disabled people have been, you know, locked out.
Kevin McHale, who played the wheelchair user Artie, is openly gay. Did you know that?
But not openly disabled.
Not openly disabled, but openly gay. Have you heard any of his music? I think he released some songs.
No.
Mate. Anyway, let's not get on to Glee again. That was
all right. Yeah, we've done. We don't want to give them any more airtime. The curse of Glee.
The curse of Glee.
Well, I think we should wrap up in a minute, but just an impassioned plea to all of our, 100, 200 listeners, viewers. Please support local businesses, particularly vegan, independent businesses. Go to the Third Estate's website. They do shipping. I think they ship well, they definitely ship all through the UK.
They ship all over the planet.
I think they definitely ship to Europe, and I think they ship worldwide. So please do go and support them. They're such lovely people. They've created such a gorgeous curated collection of clothes and shoes and accessories. And you know, it's a finger to Amazon. It's a finger to Jeff Bezos and all the rich assholes that there are in the world who are not doing any good for you, who are not doing any good for the environment, for the planet, for their communities. So yeah, please do support Third Estate. They're a lovely business and lovely people. So
don't go to the Katy Perry tour in protest.
No, I'm going to put a link to the Third Estate in the show notes actually. So
go and look at their clothes, their footwear. Everything they've got is lovely, and it's all very ethically sourced.
Yeah, they are sweatshop free. Check them out.
And it would be helpful if you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can give us a rating, I think, on Spotify. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you can give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you like.
Yeah, so subscribe, like, help us. Because if you do that, it'll help smash
that subscribe button.
Yeah, it'll help just serve it to more people. That's how these evil algorithms work, which I don't even know who owns the algorithms we're begging now. It's probably Jeff Bezos. But...
Probably. Will probably be what do you call it?
Well,
delisted?
I'd say demonetized if we made any money, but we don't make any money.
Yeah, it would have to be monetized first.
Yeah, let's wait till we get monetized before we get demonetized.
So check out the show notes for that link to the Third Estate. But yeah, also check out the links to my things. So that's my music. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on Apple Music. You can. I think my music is on Amazon Music, but I don't even know what that is, and that wasn't my choice. That's just the digital distribution company that I use. And check out Sean's links as well to see his monthly events. Buy his book, not from Amazon, but from Hive. Anything else? I think that's everything.
No, I think that's pretty much everything. And if you have any other takes on using the tune of Ironic by
Alanis,
but adding some topical things in there, please write them in the comments. I'd love to hear some, maybe about Katy Perry.
We'll sing them live on air. If you leave a comment on this episode, next episode we will sing them live on air.
Yeah, but it can only really be about 3 lines because we don't want to then get sued by Alanis Morissette and what's his name, Ballard,
Glenn Ballard
for infringing on their melody or something. But we will do some parodies of Ironic by Alanis Morissette using your topical suggestions.
All right. Well, that's something to look out for in your feeds next week. So until then, take care and don't buy from Amazon.
All right.